Alright, hold on, everybody. Hold together. 10 seconds.
Morning guys, welcome to Doctors on Darling. Yeah, I thought I might bring you along for this one today. As you guys know, a couple of weeks ago, well actually almost exactly 2 weeks ago, I had that crash down at South Coast. I then took that full week off, obviously down there on the bike. Came back to Sydney on the Monday and gently started riding again on the Tuesday. And by the Friday, I was taking Catherine to school and I could barely walk her to school. Really painful back right-hand side. So I took Saturday and Sunday off the bike and made an appointment to come in here to see the GP. Look, this is twofold, guys. The first thing I really need to make sure is there's nothing sort of a bit more wrong than I thought. And also, we're in the middle of our race season. The middle of it. I can't afford 2 weeks off the bike. And then another like 2 weeks of chilled riding. So I'm gonna need to really think about what I'm doing. So the first step is clear it up with the GP and we'll go from there. How's things? I'm Gerald. Chris to meet you. Yeah, I needed that mental clarity there just to make sure that there was nothing specifically wrong with the spine and the hip, and that was essentially what Gerald did for me. This is the challenge a lot of the time when you're dealing with this stuff, and I'm sure you guys will deal with it as well. It's like, you know, I kind of said, I did some easy 2-hour rides, and then it sort of flared up. That sort of blew his mind, because now a lot of the time these guys are dealing with the lowest common denominator when it comes to people's lifestyle. Do you know what I mean? So for you and I, like when we're going out and doing a ride like that, that's not what a GP necessarily sees week in, week out. He doesn't grasp the amount of training that I do and need to do to be competitive at the racing that I do. Yeah, go for it. So I'll be honest with you guys, this is like the first crash recovery type thing that I've really felt my age. I know a few guys that have come off and stuff recently, and I've just seen guys that I've raced with or against, and you know, they recover so quickly and they're back on the bike the next day, and I want to. Playing rugby and stuff 10-15 years ago, and you know, you were really sore on the Sunday, but by the Monday you were fine, you were grand, you were ready to go again. And you know, you weren't doing recovery very well. You were loading a pile of pints into yourself after races, so after games. So it clearly just takes longer. Like there's just no denying the fact it takes longer. So that's, I think, another little reason that I'm being more cautious with this particular one.
It's right on the bone, on the iliac crest, so on the top of the pelvis bone there. Is there a sort of threshold with the pain that you should push to?
Yeah.
And can you just push through that and do whatever you want?
Yeah.
And so there's definitely an inflammatory component to this. So the harder you work, the higher your heart rate, all of that sort of thing, higher your core temperature, the more inflammation there's going to be.
Yeah.
So yes, there is a side of it that there will be a bit more inflammation if you push a bit harder, but you're not doing sort of any damage or anything, any real damage if you push harder. Whereas if we go back to that tendon thing, that's a little bit different. If you push too hard on a tendon or something like that, then you can start to irritate the tissue that's there and maybe cause a little bit of damage around that tissue there. The anti-inflammatory stuff that they do after games of footy and stuff, ice baths and stuff, have been shown to have negative effects on training benefits. So we do need a certain amount of inflammation. The issue is too much inflammation. When we have too much inflammation, it can start to affect how the muscles contract, and they can lose a bit of contractility, can affect motor firing patterns, so different muscles will work at different times because of that inflammation. So it can start to play with stuff, but by itself, inflammation is quite a good thing for the body.
So when I took the camera into the GP's office earlier this week, I really kind of thought the thread of this vlog was going to be the physical comeback, you know, maybe to see if I can get to do this race or not, and just the physical nature of it. But as it's kind of progressed along, I've realised that it's less and less about the body and far more about the headspace that you find yourself in. So what I ended up doing is, in the first couple of rides back, I took my phone with me, and every time I had a thought of an angle on what was going on, I write it down. I wrote it down, okay? So here's really one ride. This was one ride, what was going through my head. Oh, I'm pushing too hard, ease off. Oh, I need to start riding again, much harder than this. I'm missing out. Oh, actually, that hurts a bit. Oh, actually, I feel really good now, that hurts. No, that's too hard. God, I suck so much now. This fitness is going to take way longer. I used to go up this hill so much faster than now. I hate sucking. I don't want to go ride with them. They'll just drop me. Oh, this is embarrassing. I don't want to hurt this much. I'm going to need more time off. I need to get back on the bike and ride harder. That was one ride. You can see from that, my head is going all over the place. And this is 1 week in. Imagine if, this is a 2-month, 3-month, 6-month injury, where your head space goes. Honestly, I reckon that is the sort of key point to all of this. And you guys know, right? I'm not a health professional by any stretch of the imagination. This is Chris. This is just my experience. And sharing my experience with you is, well, hopefully something that starts conversations about this kind of stuff. Cool? All right. The big one for me is that person outside the bubble. The person who knows you for who you are and understands that this is part of your life. Riding bikes, whatever the physical thing is that you now can't do or you can't do as well as you used to, is a massive part of your life, and you want it to be that. The 3-hour bike ride that was filled with this needs to be unloaded on someone at some point. It's the talking to them that's the key part. There's no point that stuff staying on my phone and in my head. You have to articulate that to that person. And for me, well, that person's sitting upstairs tapping away on her keyboard. She gets me, and she gets that I need to be on the bike to be a better person. She understands that. She needs to be going out for runs and doing that. She's a better person for that. And we bounce that stuff off each other. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your partner, your wife. It just needs to be that person outside the bubble who understands that. This can be the elite athlete, struggling to get ready for the Tour de France. It can be the C grader who's missed a couple of races now, but it still means as much to them. It doesn't matter where you are on that spectrum. Get the stuff off here to here and then to there.
When we were talking about it, I got the sense that Chris was angling for an answer which would, I think, give him justification for not racing, for taking a rest, for, I don't know, just for having a break maybe. And maybe that was more of a mental need than a physical need. But truthfully, I didn't think he was that injured. I thought, well, you either are injured, in which case you need a medical diagnosis not to race, or you need to get over it mentally, in which case you immediately need to start racing. Or not immediately, but as soon as possible. Need to start getting into that frame of mind again, or else you can just sorry, buddy. Was that what he was doing? In that case, there's kind of an easy answer for the sport person. It's get yourself medically checked, get a medical diagnosis to say that you can race, and then you know that it's a physical thing and not a mental thing. And once you get the physical all clear, then you can really just focus on the mental stuff and just getting over the hump. And that can be hard. That can be harder. It can be because it's so nebulous and unquantifiable. So just constantly allowing them to air their concerns with you, but not necessarily just give you the answers you want to hear, or give you the answers you sometimes need to hear, hard as sometimes they may be. And it doesn't have to be a long and detailed conversation. Half the time we're just doing it when the kids are in the bath and we're keeping a loose eye, or when we have 5 minutes when we wake up or before we go to sleep. So it doesn't need to be long or detailed, it's just being there.
This is just a little sore compared to that, isn't it?
Yeah. But the one that you did last time didn't go away.
No. It's kind of still on my leg, isn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
This also goes away. That means a bruise is gonna come.
Yeah.
Why are you wearing jeans when you have sore?
Because the sore-sores are getting better, so I can put the plasters over the sore-sores and it's easier to manage. But remember last time I did it, I had to wear shorts for a long time, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's because you don't want to get cold.
That's true. Should mention, and this is something I do every time I crash, but I come in here and Felicia has a look at the bike because a lot of the time if there's a crack or some sort of issue that might have happened from the crash, probably miss it and you probably don't want to find it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've done that before. Like, you almost don't want to find a problem with it, but at the end of the day you want to find that problem, so go to someone you trust. So just finished the chop, which is my first little bit of intensity for about 3 weeks. And it was so much fun. It was so cool being back riding. Really cool. Guys, I really hope you enjoyed that kind of little journey that we've sort of been on. Obviously, please take it in the right light. This is just, my experience and sort of how it's progressed along. But yeah, do fire some questions below, your own experiences, your own thoughts, because I think, as we've sort of tried to point out from this whole thing that, talking about stuff like this is kind of cool. But yeah, I'm going to have some food. Peace. Do the subscribing and the liking and the buttons and everything, and we'll see you soon. See ya.